the eternal now. Why is it good to be present in the eternal now? Why do you want to be present in the eternal now? Why do you want to be present in the eternal now? Good question to ask ourselves. With Eckhart Tolle and the Power of Now and his many teachings, and with Oprah and Deepak Chopra, we know the power of now. We know it's important spiritually to be in it, but authentically and really in each and every moment, are we in the eternal now, and why do we want to live in that place? A few years back, several of us, actually it's a pretty good gang of us, maybe 15 to 18 of us from the Lighthouse, drove up to Santa Rosa. Reverend Michael Beckwith was up there speaking, and he was on fire that night. I mean, there's times where he's just rocking, and he was rocking. He just came out, prayed himself in. There wasn't any music. For 2 hours, he just spoke, and he lifted us all up into this incredibly wonderful, free, vast, oceanic space of joy, of bliss. And he had talked about it before, but on this particular day, I really got it and I loved it. He was talking about the eternal now, and he was reminding us that the eternal now is not something that takes place in time and space. It is not, the eternal now is not 10:20 a.m. on Sunday morning. The eternal now transcends all time and space. So it includes all the past, it includes all the future, and it is beyond all time and space. And the example that he gave, is fabulous. He was saying 2 + 2 is 4. It's not 2 + 2 is 4 for a really, really, really long time. It's an eternal principle. It's not about time. It transcends. This principle transcends time and space. And so this eternal now is that place of freedom, of lightness of being, where all the stuff of the earthly life, because everything that we're experiencing humanly is of time and space. It extends out, space extends out, and time extends in moments. There are lots of moments, but behind it is this eternal moment. And when we touch into it, when we let go, there's no way to be in that eternal moment. When we let go, we start to feel the bliss and the joy of pure being. I was listening to Alan Watts talk about the eternal now, and he was saying that people miss it because we get confused and we start looking for the future to fill us up. And what happens is we don't know how to live, and then when we're down, then we get to the future that we've been planning, and we don't know how to actually be in that moment, because we immediately start planning the next thing, because we actually find even when we've arrived, it's not that fulfilling. He gives the example of, you ask yourself, what did you do yesterday? What was sort of, and often, not always, but often our answer will be the stuff that we did. I had lunch with friends, I went shopping, I got some work done, I was working at my desk, I went to a movie, whatever that was for you, and it's probably multiple things. If you describe yesterday, it will often be the things that you did. Even if you describe it from the things that you thought about. And what he was saying is that is actually missing the moment. So when your life is filled with tasks and to do things and how you perceive yourself and how you describe your journey, he said it's all very unsatisfying, and you know it's unsatisfying. So you start longing to go into the future and start planning things in the future, because if you just get this thing or that experience or that habit, then you'll be satisfied. But then you don't get to that future and you don't feel satisfied. I resonated that because with various visions that I had, the thing that surprised me the most is when I actually fulfilled them years later. So I spent years working towards them, fulfilled them. I was completely shocked at how empty the experience was. I was expecting the vision to fill me up. I was expecting when I got there, I would be so full and overjoyed with the fulfillment of this vision that I would just be complete for the rest of my life. Where in fact, it was just a temporary moment. I liked it. It came and went really fast, and it didn't fill me. And that sort of, I found that very disconcerting, because I was living my life it wasn't my vision. I was living for God's vision. And so if I'm living God's vision, isn't that automatically going to fulfill me and make me feel satisfied? So I was really struck by Alan Watt, by the way, is a Buddhist teacher. He passed away and he transitioned in 1973. But he was speaking to the idea that the real fulfillment of any moment is when we touch the eternal. And the eternal is not something you can measure in time and space. So he said, if you try to describe the eternal moments from yesterday, what did you do yesterday? It's actually very difficult to describe, because now you are describing something that is measureless. You can't compare it to anything because you're outside of time and space. Time and space gives us relativity and allows us to compare things and measure things. But when we touch the eternal moment, we can't describe it. For instance, when we were in Santa Rosa being lifted into this eternal space with Reverend Michael, I can't really describe it. It was very joy. We were all feeling joy. We were feeling uplifted, but there's not a lot to say about it. It was just blissful. And that's what the eternal moments can be, is they become our most real moments. When we describe our life, if I was going to ask you to describe the really important events and moments in your life, my bet is going to be those moments when you touched into the eternal in some moment. I know after Julian was born, I was reading things like we heard today, Ken Wilber, who does a lot of pointing out instructions. And you read enough of those, your mind starts expanding more. I was reading Ramana Maharshi and his inquiry and being in the I am presence. So he's being with all of that. I was very still. I was taking care of my little baby. And I went jogging, and I had a jogging stroller. Julian was in the stroller. And I'm jogging, and suddenly I'm aware that I'm the I am, completely still, does not change, does not move, doesn't come, doesn't go, and that I was jogging inside the I am, and that I was both experiences. And I felt completely fulfilled. I didn't need anything else. I didn't want anything else. I was just being in the fullness of the present moment of the eternal now as it was being experienced in that moment, both and. The eternal, the transcendent and the immanent, the eternal and the time and the relative, and time and space. When we have those moments, we remember them. I might not remember what I did yesterday, but I remembered that. I remember going on that jog. Why? Because we touched the eternal. So be with, for just a minute, times in your life when you've touched that eternal moment, where you have felt it in your life. My bet is, just by asking that question, you can remember pretty easily those moments, because it's eternal. It's right here now. The past and the future are in the present moment. So anytime we've experienced that eternal presence, it's right here. It's not something that happened when I was a child. It isn't something that happened when you were in high school or when you were in college or 5 years ago. It's right now in the eternal. It is in beyond time and space. So the past and the future, right here, right now, the eternal now, which is why it's called the eternal now, not just the now, the eternal now. So the question is how do we connect with that eternal now more and more? And I love, there's a book that they're using for this month, and I didn't notice it till today because I really loved the quotes. It's by Mary O'Malley, and it's about finding the eternal now, not around the obstacles, but through the obstacles. The obstacles that we experience are the way to experience the eternal now. And she looks at the curiosity as one of the most powerful mindfulness techniques that we can use to get us into the eternal now. The funny thing is, I just read about that, and even before I read about it, I experienced it yesterday. I was in meditation. Now, I've been meditating for 30 years, and I've done different lineage practices, Zen, Yogananda, ceaseless prayer, Christian, the ceaseless prayer, just pure being that we have in new thought. So over the 30 years, I've tried different things, explored different things, but somehow yesterday, the circumstances were so great. There was no sound. It was in the dark as a night. There was nobody, the street noises were completely quiet. Inside the house, everything was just utterly quiet. And I'm like, oh, this is great, perfect conditions for meditation. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, so why am I even meditating? Like, what do I, why am I here? Okay, do I want another experience? Is that why I'm here? Am I trying to become enlightened? What does that even mean? Where am I trying to get somewhere? And I just started asking why. And it was the most fun meditation I've had in the longest time. That idea, the entire universe is conspiring for our good. The moment we start asking a question, it leaves space for the universe to answer us in ways that we can't imagine. So when I started asking that question, I stopped going off automatic pilot. You know, I do my spiritual practices in such a disciplined way at this point that sometimes I forget why I'm doing it, what the motivation is, or I'm going on old motivation, something that motivated me 30 years ago, or something that motivated me last year. But to ask the question, why am I doing this? Be curious about the meditation. Why are we in service today? What made you turn on your computer and come to the service and commune with people? You might be able to answer that question from a year ago or from a month ago, but today, this moment, why are you here? The moment we start becoming curious about what's happening in our present moment, especially about things that are important to us. I tried it with why am I brushing my teeth? And that really I didn't have very deep results to that one. It wasn't very interesting. So I thought, well, it's a wonderful question about things that matter to us. So throughout the day, if you're having lunch with someone that you care about, why do I care about this person? Why is this moment? Why am I'm having this meal with them? Why is this meal with this person today? Not yesterday, not the day before, but today. Why is this meal important? Why is it important to do my prayer practice? Why is it, whatever you're doing today, I'm going on a bike ride, or going hiking, whatever that is, why is that important? And the moment we become curious, it's exactly what you said. It's a mindfulness practice. We've moved out of automatic pilot. We've moved out of routine thinking. Even if it's good routine thinking, it's still routine thinking, and just become present. Like right now, we're all together. Why are we here? And suddenly I'm much more, even asking that question in this moment, I'm much more aware that I'm on a screen with a lot of different people and we're together in this moment. And it feels a little bit vulnerable. Like, why are we here? Like suddenly you're very present to me. It's not just like I'm on automatic pilot talking to people, but like asking a question, we're kind of looking at each other. Why are we here? What are you doing here? And it makes me want to hide a little bit, but no, I'm going to stay here. Why are we here? So this wonderful practice of curiosity is a powerful. What I like about it, when I was listening to the Alan Watts videos, he was using a lot of the traditional spiritual lingo, which is, if you want to know the eternal now, sit in meditation, stop your thoughts. And he was saying that, stop your thoughts, stop thinking. That is a very hard thing for me to do. I don't know if it's hard for you, it's hard for me. So I love curiosity because it's easy for me to do it. So I think someone is unmuted, I'm not sure. So it's very easy to be curious, and so that keeps us present and allows us to open to this eternal mystery, to the eternal possibilities in every moment. And what it did yesterday in my meditation was it started giving me insights that I didn't even know that I had. It allowed a layer to be pulled away. I was on so automatic pilot, I've been doing it for so long, that it made this interior world come alive and be seen. And so then right after meditation, I'm like, oh, I gotta go journal. And so then I'm journaling, and it's like the questions just kept coming, and I was excited to be in the questions. I was excited to be alive and feeling these different possibilities. But then I got to a question, I'm like, I can't get an answer to this one. This one's too hard. And so I just stopped. I put my pen down. I'm like, there's no way, there's no answer to this one. And I just looked at the book on my table, and I've been reading Outrageous Openness by Tasha Silver. So I just pulled it in my time of waiting. And I opened up the story, And it was exactly what my question was. Same language, same wording. It amazes me. Well, that's the awe and wonder, right? When we're in the eternal moment, when we allow the entire universe to conspire and we make space for the universe to come in by asking questions, we're making space. It's giving us answers in immediately, right now, yes, when we ask. That's exciting. That's wonderful. And so this yesterday was just like this very full and rich day. So when you say, what did I do yesterday? It felt so full and rich because I was alive in curiosity. So the number one thing that I invite all of us this week as we're continuing and living everyday wonder is to be curious. Be curious about what you're doing and why, especially, again, the things that are important to you. Maybe not the everyday routine things, although certainly mindfulness is. That's how I always lost mindfulness, because we were supposed to be watching how we eat, how we take a shower, how we shampoo, and I just got bored. But when I'm asking questions about things that matter to me, I'm engaged, I'm alive. So I invite you to, even today, what are the things that matter to you that you're doing today? Why are you doing it? Why is this important? Tomorrow, why is this important? You have your job, you have your tasks that you have to get done for your job. You might be incredibly busy, exhausted. Why am I doing this? Not to make you not do it. Me asking why I'm meditating wasn't like, well, no reason I'm going to quit meditating. So if you're in your job and you're exhausted, asking why isn't about quitting. It's about revealing things that you might not see because you're sort of shut down. We shut down a little bit when things are not going well. And this gets us to the next. So there's two answers to this question of how to connect with the eternal now. One is curiosity, and the other one is acceptance. To accept everything that's unfolding in moment by moment. They had a quote, and I just love this quote so much. So I wrote it down so I wouldn't misquote it. It's by a Zen teacher named Charlotte Joko Beck. And she said, joy is exactly what is happening minus our opinions. Joy is exactly what is happening right now minus our opinions. I have to say that again. Joy is exactly what is happening right now minus our opinions. It's kind of like the Buddhist quote, people with opinions just go around bothering one another. One of the things I could not understand for a while is when I would practice Zen, when I was doing that part meditation practice. So all Zen is you sit on the pillow, or I sat on a chair because my legs got sore, and you count your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up until 10. If you get distracted, which I often did, you go back to 1, you start over, and that's it. You do that for 40 minutes. If you go over 10, you go back to 1. And I would be done meditating, and I would just be giggling, and I'd be just like laughing. I'm like, why am I so freaking happy? Excuse me, so darn happy. So and it kept happening, and I couldn't, and I would get silly and joyful. And suddenly that's why I love that quote, because joy is what is happening minus our opinion. Numbers were so easy and I wasn't engaged with numbers. It wasn't a mantra where I have an engagement with the words. 1, 2, it's completely neutral. And the moment was just happening freely without any opinion. I wasn't thinking. And Zen is so much, it's neither good nor bad. If you could stick to it, great. If you can't stick to it, fine. You know, there's no judgment. There's no sense of you're doing it wrong and you're doing it right. It's just show up and do your best. Whatever you do, it's fine. That allowed me to just show up and do it in such freedom, to stop judging and comparing. This idea of comparison and measurement keeps us so lost in our human time-space continuum. When we can accept every moment, so in this moment, can you accept everything that's unfolding in your life? Not just on the computer, but around you, in the maybe out on the street, or in your room, and the comfort or the discomfort, the noise, what's going inside your body, what's going inside the people around you, what's going inside the screen. Can you fully accept everything in this moment, just as it is, without an opinion, without a judgment of good or bad? And this becomes a pretty profound experience, because you know, when I'm meditating and nothing's happening, it's sort of that's a place to be able to accept everything. But the hard part is when life is difficult, when we have problems, when we have challenges. Of course, I don't want the problems. Of course, I don't like feeling uncomfortable myself. I don't like other people feeling uncomfortable. I don't like bad things happening in the world. I want everything to be peaceful and harmonious. And when things come up, at least I do, I don't know what happens for you. I often want it to stop as soon as I possibly can. And I will do what I can to make it stop as much as I can. And what Shunryu Suzuki, and actually I'm saying Shunryu because he's my teacher. Eckhart Tolle teaches all of this. Sufis teach this. Christian mystics teach this. So it's universal, but he just happens to be my teacher. His view, he has this thing called take the one seat. I love that. I read that section over and over because I need to remember it personally, which is, in the midst of your problems, in the midst of the struggles, in the midst of the exhaustion, in the midst of all the to-do lists, the expectations for your life that you need to fulfill for your job, for a relationship, whatever the stuff is within your own expectations, and you get tired of that, in the midst of all of it, rather than trying to solve it, you take the one seat and you become it. It's part of who you are. Acceptance is accepting even the problems as you. So what he says is, and Eckhart Tolle actually says something very similar, which is the moment you try to start fixing the problem, solving the problem, now you are separate from the problem and you've moved into separation. And he said, you've moved out of alignment of the eternal now. Now you are in time and space trying to figure out a problem in time and space. And what was it that Einstein said, that you can't solve a problem at the level that it's created. So the problem absolutely might be a problem that's in time and space. In fact, that's where all problems exist. We don't want to run from it either and just use meditation as a way to avoid it, to transcend the problem and pretend it's not there. But instead you sit in the midst of it. I don't know, there's something about that image, about taking the one seat in the center of your problem. And don't try to solve it, but breathe it. Let it become you, and it will start working itself out. It will start shifting, and your perception will shift so things can start moving around. If we don't accept it, it's very hard to move things. We constrict. Anytime we're judging and separating ourselves from the problem, we're constricting. And then it's very hard for new life to show up, for this universal good, this entire universe that is for us, as Patrick was singing this morning. It's all for us, but it's hard to let it in if we're really fixed on ourselves, fixing it. But when we open to this divine infinite spirit, this vastness, this infinite, infinite and eternal. I keep going back to Michael Beckwith. The eternal is not just a really, really, really long time. It's beyond time. So we just be in that eternal isness of life, which has no problems, which is already in harmony, which is always good. We just sit in the midst of whatever the problem is as the divine universe, and things begin to shift in ways that we can't even imagine, or we just shift. I had an experience like this when I was teaching a Zen class. We were on 2nd Street over in, we were in Livermore on 2nd Street P. And one of the challenges that come and go, some of our challenges come and then they go and then they come back again. And so I was in the midst of this challenge again. One of the challenges, as I talked about Reverend Michael, being from Agape, being in a mega church did not, I didn't have any idealization around that. But I am in awe what Reverend Michael can do on a Sunday morning, just lift everybody up. And so there's this perpetual sense in myself as a minister as a failure, like I can't do what he does. I don't have the ability to raise people up into this high causal pure bliss of being. In vibrationally, it's a vibrational frequency. And so there's this perpetual sense of not enoughness as a minister. And so I often would go to services on Sundays just feeling, I might like my talk, but it's just a talk. It's not a vibrational frequency. So I was just feeling not enough. but I was also teaching Zen, and I was going to the Sunday service. I was riding my bicycle to service, which I actually kind of liked because it got my the energy going. And I don't know exactly where I was. It was just suddenly I'm like, I'm completely fine just the way I am. I am spiritual. I might not be spiritual the way he's spiritual. I can't do the thing, but the way I am is just the way I am. And it's perfect with all my limitations, whatever my strengths are. It just is. And I'm fine the way I am. And just my heart exploded open in joy. Nothing had changed. Everything was exactly the same. Nothing had changed in the external, but I had a slight shift of just fully accepting myself just as I was in that moment, with all my limitations, with all the things that I didn't, my ideal, your ideal and the actual, the suffering is the gap. Reverend Michael was my ideal. I was down here and my suffering was the gap. In that moment, the gap just stopped. And my ideal of just being who I am, so much of acceptance is accepting who you are in every moment, just as you are. You're not supposed to be anything other than what you are. And it's perfect because it's who you are. You're not something else, you're this. And to fully accept that, suddenly my heart burst open. I showed up and I was full of joy and I loved the service. And nothing else had changed but my acceptance of who I was. And it's my constant reminder, because what I find is every time I start feeling off, every time I start really feeling depleted and exhausted, it's because I think I should be something other than what I am. So if you're exhausted at work and you're fighting feeling exhausted, there's a part of just sit in that awareness of acceptance of I'm exhausted. This is exhausting, and just be with it rather than trying to fix it. Be with it and be with it long enough to allow that shift to happen. Jackie and I've been watching, what's that? Everybody Loves Raymond. And which I don't know, it's an old show, but they scream a lot at each other. And last night, one of the characters was saying, you think your marriage isn't good because you're failing at it. But marriage is all these problems. You're not supposed to not have problems in a marriage. You're not supposed to not get mad. You're not supposed to be in constant joy. And I was feeling like that was acceptance. And then in the TV show, this particular show, everyone goes like, oh, and they just there's 3 couples there, and everyone in that moment just accepted their marriage and just said, blessings to our marriage, just as it is with all of its warts. We have such a hard time accepting our life because of our ideals. Being in the eternal now, being in the isness of spirit. Spirit is not missing anything. Spirit is not saying, oh my gosh, I'm not fulfilled yet, or I don't have enough yet. Spirit has everything. It has everything, and it is everything. It is all the love in the universe. It is all the harmony in the universe. It is all the peace in the universe. It is the abundance. It is that now. It is the isness. 2 + 2 is 4 all of the time, not just for a really, really long time, all the time, right here, right now, in this moment. And so our wonderful practice, our joy-filled practice that opens us up to wonder and enthusiasm and life and energy, is to fully accept ourselves with all our warts as well as with all our greatness, to accept all of it here and now in this moment. Are you accepting yourself in this moment? Are you accepting yourself and everything that's unfolding on the screen and around you in this moment? Your heart wide open. Are you curious about it? It's easier to be curious if you're accepting it. It's hard to be curious if you think something's wrong, because then your curiosity is about fixing what's wrong or trying to mentally get your head around it. But if you just accept what is, and then you're asking questions from that state of acceptance, we're in a state of play, we're in a state of delight, we're in a state of bliss, we're in a state of wonder and amazement. This is living in the eternal now. So why do we want to live in the eternal now? Why do we want to be present in the eternal now? Because it's in the eternal now where all the treasures of pure spirit live and lie, right in this moment. All the treasures that you are seeking, the fulfillment, the deep satisfaction, the deep wholeness, that deep completion and freedom is right in this moment. Let's pray. So we give thanks for the power and the presence of pure spirit that is right now. That now moment that is unbounded and unlimited, that is absolutely free from the constraints of time and space. This now moment that is free of all our past baggage, all the stuff that we carry around with ourselves, in ourselves, our judgments of ourselves and of others, of this world, how it should be, how it's not what it should be. We just let all of that go. We let it go because in spirit, everything is fine. It is fine right now. All is well right now, not in the future. There's not some magical future. That's in time and space. Right now. Right now. Everything is absolutely fine. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear because this right nowness of wellness, of wholeness, of love is forever. It is eternal. It doesn't come and it doesn't go. There's nothing that's going to happen in time and space that will ever, ever, ever take us out of this eternal good, this eternal now, this eternal love, this eternal joy. Nothing has that power. There's nothing in this world of time and space that has the power that can take us out of the pure harmony and joy and love of being. How grateful I am to know this, to feel it on every atom and cell of my body, to know that everybody who is here this beautiful, radiant morning, all these wonderful, beautiful faces, you are in my heart, even as we are in each other's hearts. That it's not out there, but it's inside of us. We are all inside of each other. We carry this beautiful service, the prayers, the readings, the music, the conversation, the dialogue. We carry it all inside of us right here and right now, this eternal, beautiful, radiant moment. We remember the intention that we set at the beginning of the service, and we see how this entire universe has been conspiring for our good, for the fulfillment of this intention, for this expansion, for this wisdom, for this love, for this peace, for this beauty, for this harmony. We are in awe and gratitude for the extraordinary, infinite goodness of God that is showing up in our life right here in this moment. And even as we know this for our life, we know our life is one with all life, that this infinite good is happening everywhere in time and in space. There's no place where this infinite good is not happening. And it is our consciousness and our awareness that is calling it forth and activating it through and as all time and space. For those of our loved ones who are needing to remember who and what they really are, for those who are in fear, for those who are hiding, for those who are voiceless, who are in pain, who are in suffering, who don't remember who they are, for the animals, for the plants, for the living earth, for the cosmos, for all of it. It is all inside of us, this infinite cosmos inside our heart, and all is well. We rest in this all is wellness. We breathe in deeply as we take in the gulp of the entire cosmos, knowing it is already done. In deep abiding grace and everlasting peace, we let this word be now, and we say together, and so it is. Amen.